Zuri was 22, a bright computer science graduate from Nairobi with a big dream: to work in tech and build something that mattered. Every night, after her family went to sleep, she'd sit by the flickering light of her old laptop, typing away on projects that kept her heart alive. Her laptop was slow, the keys sometimes stuck, but to her it was a window to the world, a place where her ideas could breathe. Her father, Mr. Kamau, didn't see it that way. To him, a girl's future was marriage, not machines. He often reminded her, girls should think about families, not men's jobs. Zuri would smile politely but say nothing. Deep down, she knew her path was different. She wanted to write code, design apps, and solve problems that reached beyond their small home. So she hid her dreams. She'd apply for jobs quietly, deleting emails before anyone noticed, pretending to be asleep when her father walked past her door. Her mother knew, of course. Sometimes she'd peek in, place a cup of tea beside her, and whisper, "Just be careful, my girl." Then one evening, after weeks of waiting, Zuri received an email that made her heart race. A company called Innovatech, a global startup that had noticed her app project, wanted to interview her online. She read the message over and over, hardly believing it was real. For the first time, she felt that maybe her secret dream wasn't so impossible after all. The night before her big interview, Zuri couldn't hide her excitement anymore. She was sitting on her bed, phone pressed to her ear, whispering to her best friend Amina. "Can you believe it? They actually want to interview me. Innovatech, Amina. This could change everything." Her voice was full of hope, a rare sound in that house. But what Zuri didn't know was that her father, Mr. Kamau, was standing outside her door. He had heard every word. His face hardened, his jaw tightening with every sentence. To him, this wasn't a dream, it was rebellion. He pushed the door open sharply. "What nonsense are you talking about?" he snapped. Zuri froze, her phone slipping from her hand. "It's just an interview, Baba," she said softly, her heart pounding. "A tech company liked my app project. They want to talk to me tomorrow." "Interview?" he repeated, his voice rising. "With who? Strange men on a computer? Is this what you've been doing behind my back?" Zuri tried to explain, but he wasn't listening. "You are a stubborn child chasing useless dreams," he shouted. "No daughter of mine will sit in front of strange men pretending to be one of them." Her mother rushed in, trying to calm him. "Please, Kamau, she's just trying to make something of herself," she pleaded. But that only made him angrier. His pride had already been hurt. "You've spoiled her with all this nonsense," he barked, turning to Zuri. "You think you're smarter than me now?" Before Zuri could answer, he stormed toward her desk, grabbed her old laptop, the same one she had used for years, the one filled with her projects, her dreams, her future, and with one furious motion, smashed it on the floor. The sound of shattering plastic and glass echoed through the house. Zuri's mother gasped and covered her mouth. Zuri stood frozen, staring at the broken pieces scattered across the floor like fragments of her heart. "Maybe now you'll stop this foolishness," her father said coldly and walked out, leaving silence behind him. Zuri knelt down, her hands trembling as she picked up the cracked screen, the loose keys, the small pieces that once held her world together. Tears rolled down her cheeks, falling on the dusty floor. Her mother knelt beside her, touching her shoulder gently. "I'm so sorry, my child," she whispered. Zuri didn't answer. She just stared at what was left of her laptop, feeling the weight of everything she had worked for slip away. The interview she had dreamed about now felt impossible. That night, she sat in the dark corner of her room, eyes red and swollen, whispering to herself, "Maybe he's right. Maybe I was foolish to think I could do this." But deep down, a small voice refused to be silent, the same one that had always told her to keep going, no matter what. Zuri barely slept that night. She sat on the floor, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the shattered pieces of her laptop. The screen was cracked like broken glass art, but to her, it looked like the end of everything. That old laptop had been more than just a machine. It was her secret partner, her diary, her proof that she was capable of something greater. Now it was gone, destroyed in a moment of anger. Her room felt smaller than ever. The silence after her father's rage was heavy, almost suffocating. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard the sound of the laptop hitting the floor. She tried to hold back tears, but they kept coming. She felt helpless, trapped between her dreams and her father's expectations. Her phone buzzed softly beside her. It was Amina. For a moment, Zuri didn't want to answer, but she finally picked up. "Zuri, are you okay?" Amina's voice was full of worry. Zuri tried to speak, but her voice cracked. "He broke it, Amina. My laptop, everything's gone. My projects, my codes, everything." There was silence for a moment, then Amina said gently, "Hey, listen to me. You don't need to prove him wrong. Just prove yourself right." Zuri sat quietly, letting the words sink in. Prove herself right. She repeated it in her head like a small spark of hope. Then suddenly, a thought flashed in her mind. Wait, she had backed up all her files to the cloud a few weeks ago. Every project, every document, even her app prototype. They weren't lost after all. Her heart started racing again, but this time it wasn't from fear. She quickly grabbed her phone, opened her drive, and there it was, everything safe and untouched. She let out a shaky laugh, half crying, half relieved. Amina, I still have my files. Amina chuckled on the other end. See, I told you. The universe isn't done with you yet. For the first time that night, Zuri smiled. The sadness didn't disappear, but something stronger began to grow inside her, determination. She wasn't going to let her father's anger destroy what she had built. I'll still do the interview, she said quietly, even if I have to do it from a cyber cafe or a borrowed phone. Amina didn't even hesitate. Use my old tablet. It's slow, but it works. I'll bring it first thing in the morning. When the call ended, Zuri wiped her tears and looked at the broken laptop one last time. It was over, yes, but also a beginning. She whispered to herself, you can take my laptop, but not my dream. Then she pulled her blanket over her shoulders, opened her notes on her phone, and started preparing for the interview anyway. The next morning, Zuri woke up before sunrise. The house was silent, her father still asleep, and the air heavy with yesterday's tension. She quietly packed Amina's old tablet into her bag, slipped on her worn-out sneakers, and tiptoed out of the house. Her heart pounded as she closed the gate behind her. She didn't know what would happen after today, but she knew she couldn't miss this chance. The only cafe nearby opened early, so she went there, hoping to find a quiet corner and a strong Wi-Fi connection. The place smelled of coffee and fresh mandazis. She ordered a small cup, mostly to justify sitting there for hours, and found a seat near the window. When she turned on the tablet, it took forever to start. The Wi-Fi kept disconnecting. She almost cried again, but she reminded herself why she was there. At exactly 9 a.m., the video call rang. Zuri took a deep breath and tapped join. The screen flickered, froze for a moment, and then showed 3 faces smiling back at her. The interview panel from Innovatech. Good morning, Zuri, one of them greeted warmly. Can you hear us? Yes, I can, she said quickly, though her voice trembled. Sorry if my connection is a bit slow. They laughed kindly, putting her at ease. The interview began. They asked about her app, how she built it, what inspired her, what challenges she faced. Zuri spoke with passion, explaining how she designed the app to help small local businesses manage sales digitally. When the connection lagged, she waited patiently, smiling each time the screen froze. She handled every hiccup with grace, apologizing once but never panicking. At one point, one of the panelists said, "Your idea is impressive, especially considering the resources you had." Zuri nodded, her heart swelling with pride. She told them about coding late at night, learning from online tutorials, and using free software because she couldn't afford licenses. Another interviewer leaned closer to his screen and said softly, "You remind me of myself 10 years ago, hungry, curious, and unstoppable." Zuri blinked, unsure what to say. "Thank you, sir," she whispered. "That means a lot." As the interview went on, she felt her nerves melt away. She was finally being seen, not as someone breaking rules, but as someone capable of creating something meaningful. After 40 minutes, the call ended. "We'll be in touch soon, Zuri," they said with a smile. She thanked them and closed the tablet. For a moment, she just sat there, her hands shaking, tears filling her eyes. Not from sadness this time, but from relief. She had done it. Despite everything, the broken laptop, the slow Wi-Fi, the fear, she had shown them who she really was. As she left the cafe, the morning sun hit her face, warm and bright. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, she felt unstoppable. 2 days passed since the interview, and Zuri had almost convinced herself it hadn't gone. She replayed every moment in her head, the lagging screen, the frozen smiles, her shaky voice. Maybe they'd already chosen someone else. Still, she kept checking her email, refreshing the page again and again, hoping for a miracle. At home, nothing had changed. Her father still refused to speak to her properly. Every time he saw her with Amina's tablet, he scoffed. "You're still wasting time with those useless computers?" he said one evening while reading his newspaper. "No one hires girls like you for that kind of work. You should be thinking about a husband, not gadgets." Zuri stayed quiet. She had learned not to argue. Inside, though, she felt that small spark, the one that refused to die, still burning. She smiled faintly and whispered to herself, "If only you knew." That night, as the house settled into silence, Zuri sat on her bed scrolling through her emails one last time. Then suddenly there it was, a new message with the subject line, "Congratulations, Zuri Kamau." Her breath caught. She clicked it open with shaking hand. The first line read, "We were very impressed with your interview and your app project. We would be honored to have you join Innovatech as a junior project lead, working remotely from Nairobi." For a moment, she just stared at the screen. Her heart raced. Junior project lead? That meant she wouldn't just be working for them. She'd be leading a small team. Her eyes filled with tears as she read the line again to be sure it was real. Her mother walked in quietly, carrying folded laundry. "Zuri, what's wrong?" she asked, noticing the look on her daughter's face. Zuri turned the screen toward her without saying a word. Her mother squinted, then gasped softly. "You got the job?" Zuri nodded, still in disbelief. Her mother's hands flew to her mouth. Then she set the laundry aside and hugged her tightly. "My child, you did it," she whispered, her voice shaking. "You really did it." They stayed like that for a moment, both of them holding back tears. Then her mother pulled away slightly and said in a hushed tone, "Let's keep this between us for now. He wouldn't understand yet." Zuri smiled through her tears. "I know, Mama. Just for now." Her mother nodded, brushing a tear from her cheek. "God sees your effort, my girl. One day he'll see it too." That night, Zuri lay awake, staring at the ceiling, still replaying the words from the email in her. She had done it. Against all odds, without anyone's help, she had achieved what she once only dreamed of. The broken laptop, the long nights, the insults, none of it mattered now. The world had finally seen what she always knew about herself. And this time, she didn't need anyone's permission to be proud. Zuri started her new job in complete silence. No one in the house knew, except her mother. Every morning, she pretended to be doing random online courses, while secretly logging in to Innovateca's remote system. Her small corner of the room became her quiet workspace, just a chair, the old tablet, and her endless determination. At first, it felt unreal. Her teammates lived in different countries, people she'd only ever dreamed of working with. They spoke to her with respect, asking for her opinion, trusting her ideas. Every day, she grew more confident. When she received her first paycheck, she sat there staring at the number on the screen, tears filling her eyes. It wasn't just money. It was proof that her dream had been worth fighting for. The first thing she did was take her laptop to a small repair shop downtown. The technician looked at the cracked device and said, "This one's been through war." Zuri just smiled and said softly, "You have no idea." A week later, she picked it up, fully repaired and working like new. She ran her hand across the smooth surface and whispered, "Welcome back." With the rest of her money, she bought her mother a simple gift, a new shawl, soft and blue, her favorite color. When she handed it to her quietly one evening, her mother's eyes lit up. "You didn't have to," she said. Zuri smiled. "I wanted to, for everything you've done." Her mother hugged her, whispering, "I'm proud of you, my girl." Meanwhile, her father hadn't changed. He still grumbled around the house, complaining that girls bring no value to the home, and all this computer nonsense leads nowhere. Zuri stopped responding. She had nothing to prove anymore. Then, one morning, everything shifted. The sun was streaming through the window as Zuri sat at the dining table, her repaired laptop open, lines of code glowing on the screen. She was working on a prototype, a software idea her manager had encouraged her to design. She was so focused she didn't hear her father come in. "What's this?" he barked, standing behind her. Zuri turned slowly, her heart calm this time. "It's my work," she said simply. He frowned, staring at the screen full of code. "I told you to stop this nonsense," he started, but his voice faltered slightly. There was something different in her tone. She wasn't scared anymore. Zuri looked up at him, meeting his eyes. "I'm not stopping, Baba. This is who I am." Her mother walked in from the kitchen, silently watching them both. Mr. Kamau stood there, speechless, then muttered something under his breath and walked away. But Zuri didn't care. For the first time, she hadn't hidden. She turned back to her screen, her fingers moving confidently across the keyboard. The sound of typing filled the room, steady, sure, and unstoppable. This time, she wasn't just coding. She was reclaiming her voice. The morning started like any other, quiet but tense. Zuri was sitting in the living room, working on her laptop, focused on a presentation she had to submit. Her mother was in the kitchen making tea, while her father sat nearby reading the newspaper, grumbling under his breath about lazy young people and their screen. But when he looked up and saw Zuri still typing, his patience snapped. "You're still doing this nonsense," he shouted. Zuri froze but didn't close her laptop this time. "Baba, this isn't nonsense. It's my job." "Job?" he scoffed, slamming the newspaper on the table. "What job?" "Sitting in front of that thing all day pretending to work. I told you to stop this foolishness." His voice grew louder, echoing through the house. Her mother rushed in, whispering, "Please, Kamau, calm down." But he ignored her. "You think you can just do as you please in my house?" he barked. "No one will marry a girl who acts like this." Zuri stood up slowly, her hands trembling but her voice steady. "I don't need someone to marry me to prove my worth. I'm working, Baba. I'm earning. I'm doing something that matters." Her father's face turned red with anger. "Enough," he shouted. "Shut that thing down right now before I—" He didn't finish his sentence. The sound of a car stopping outside interrupted. A black company vehicle pulled up in front of their gate. Zuri's mother peeked through the curtain, confused. "Who could that be?" she asked. A moment later, there was a firm knock at the door. Mr. Kamau frowned and went to open it. Standing there were two men in dark suits, holding folders with Innovateca's logo printed on them. "Good morning," one of them said politely. "We're looking for Miss Zuri Kamau." Her father blinked, confused. "Zuri?" he repeated, glancing over his shoulder. "You mean her?" Zuri stepped forward, heart pounding. "Yes, that's me," she said softly. The man smiled and extended his hand. "Congratulations, Ms. Kamau. We're here to discuss your relocation package and finalize your transfer to our international office." For a moment, the entire room went silent. Her father just stood there, eyes wide, unable to process what he'd heard. "Relocation," he stammered. "You mean you work for them?" "Yes, Baba," Zuri said calmly. "I've been working with Innovatec for months now." Her mother covered her mouth in shock, tears already forming in her eyes. The men handed Zuri an envelope and said, "Our car is ready when you are. We can go over the details together." Mr. Kamau stepped back, still speechless, as Zuri thanked the men and took the folder. He looked at his daughter, the same girl he once called stubborn and foolish, and for the first time he had no words. Zuri turned to her mother and smiled gently. "I told you I'd make it, Mama." Then she looked at her father, not with anger, but quiet strength. "You didn't believe in me, Baba, but I believed enough for both of us." Mr. Kamau stood frozen at the doorway, his eyes darting between the men in suits and his daughter. The words relocation package echoed in his mind like thunder. He had spent months mocking her, calling her dreams foolish, and now these well-dressed professionals were here for Zuri. His Zuri. One of the men spoke again, smiling politely. "Ms. Kamau, your training program will take place at our London office. We'll handle your travel, accommodation, and visa arrangements. Congratulations once more. Your project really impressed our leadership team." Mr. Kamau's mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. "London," he repeated weakly. "You mean abroad?" Zuri nodded calmly, holding the folder against her chest. "Yes, Baba. They're sending me for training." His face turned pale. The man who had always spoken with such confidence and authority suddenly looked small, unsure. I didn't know you already got the job," he stammered. Zuri met his eyes quietly. "You didn't want to know," she said. Her voice wasn't angry, just honest. The words hit him harder than any shout ever could. He looked away, guilt washing over his face. Her mother, who had been standing behind them, pressed her hand to her mouth. Her eyes filled with tears, not of sadness but of pride. She had watched her daughter suffer in silence, fight alone, and still rise. Now, seeing these men come for her girl felt like justice. The men stepped forward, extending their hands to Zuri. "We'll need your signature on a few documents before we leave," one said. Zuri smiled and shook their hands confidently, her posture tall and sure. It was the first time she had ever felt fully seen. When they stepped outside, the neighbors had already started peeking through their gates. A shiny black car parked in front of the Kamau house was a rare sight. Curious whispers spread quickly. "Who are they here for?" someone asked. "They said they're looking for Kamau's daughter," another replied. Within minutes, a few people had gathered near the fence, pretending to sweep or water plants while stealing glances. Zuri could feel their eyes on her, but this time she didn't shrink away. She walked with confidence, her repaired laptop in her bag, her future waiting right outside. Her mother followed her out, giving her a quick hug before she left. "Go make us proud," she whispered softly, trying not to cry. Zuri smiled, blinking back her own tears. "I will, Mama." As she stepped into the car, she glanced back one last time. Her father stood by the door, still speechless, his hands hanging at his sides. He looked like a man realizing too late that he had underestimated his own child. The car door closed, the engine started, and as it drove off, the whole neighborhood watched in silence. Zuri Kamau, the girl who once had to hide her dreams, was finally on her way to live them. By the next morning, the whole neighborhood was buzzing. Word had spread faster than wildfire. "Kamau's daughter is flying to London for work." People said it with wide eyes and proud smiles, as if they had always known she was destined for greatness. The same neighbors who used to whisper about her being too stubborn or too modern were now saying, "She's such a smart girl." And imagine London. That family must be so proud. Even the shopkeeper down the street told customers how he'd once seen Zuri buying notebooks and said she looked like a serious student. Suddenly, everyone had a memory of her success. For Mr. Kamau, it was a strange day. He walked through the village market and could feel the shift in how people looked at him. Men who once joked about his disobedient daughter now clapped him on the back. "You must be so proud, Kamau. Your girl made it big," one of them said. He forced a smile, nodding, but inside he felt something twist painfully. Every compliment was a reminder of how wrong he had been. When he got home, the house felt emptier without Zuri's quiet presence. No sound of typing, no low hum of her laptop, no warm laughter shared with her. He sat in his chair and stared at the corner where her old laptop used to sit. For a long time, he said nothing, His mind kept replaying the night he had smashed it, the moment her face had fallen, the tears she tried to hide. He could still hear his own angry words echoing in his head. No daughter of mine will sit in front of strange men. Now those same strange men had come to their house, asking for her by name, showing her respect, calling her Ms. Kamau. The memory made his chest tighten. For the first time, he didn't feel powerful, he felt ashamed. As he sat there lost in thought, his phone buzzed. It was a message from Zuri. His hands shook slightly as he opened it. The message was short, simple, but it hit him like a punch to the heart. "Dad, you broke my laptop, not my will." He read it again and again, his throat tightening. He could almost hear her voice, calm, not angry, just honest. He set the phone down, rubbing his eyes, but the guilt didn't fade. He realized he had tried to break her spirit, and instead, she had grown stronger. Outside, neighbors kept talking proudly about Zuri, the girl going to London. Some even said, her father raised her well. Mr. Kamau didn't correct them. He just nodded quietly, feeling both proud and painfully aware of the truth. That night, as the sound of a plane roared faintly in the sky above Nairobi, Mr. Kamau looked up and whispered softly, "Fly high, my daughter." It was too late for apologies, but maybe, just maybe, not too late for change. 6 months later, the Kamau household looked different. The garden was tidier, the air lighter, but the biggest change came one sunny afternoon when a silver car stopped at the gate. Zuri stepped out, confident and radiant, dressed smartly and carrying a small suitcase. Her mother ran out first, tears already in her eyes, hugging her daughter tightly. "You look so grown, my girl," she whispered. Mr. Kamau stood at the doorway, unable to move. For months, he had replayed his mistakes, wishing he could take back the things he said. Now, seeing his daughter standing there, successful, calm, and full of grace, made his eyes well up. He finally walked toward her and said quietly, "Zuri, my child, I'm sorry. I was wrong." Zuri looked at him for a moment, then smiled gently. "I know, Baba," she said. "I wanted you to believe in me. But now, I believe in myself enough for both of us." He nodded, wiping his tears, his pride mixed with regret. Her mother watched them from the side, smiling through her own tears. For the first time, peace settled between them. In the following days, Zuri visited her old neighborhood, the same streets where people once whispered about. This time, the children ran to greet her, calling her Engineer Zuri, with admiration. She gathered a small group of girls under the shade of a mango tree, showing them how to use a tablet, teaching them simple coding lessons, and sharing her story. "Never let anyone tell you your dream is too big," she told them. "Dream louder than their doubt." As the sun set, her laughter mixed with the children's voices. Zuri had come full circle. The girl who once hid her dreams had returned to help others find theirs.